Hey guys, Andy and Spoken Label back in the house on a Sunday afternoon. Yes, it's quite warm here today as well. Yeah, it's going to be it was boiling hot yesterday. Yeah, it's fairly warm today for England, but where we are today, I suspect it's probably a fair bit warmer. Now, yeah, my guest today is already nodding, and he can tell me in a minute how warm it is. I'm suspecting it's a lot warmer than it is here. But yeah, respect first of all, and love to my friend David Leo Salos, obviously from his wonderful night. He recommended this guest to me today, and I've been looking forward to this now. So we booked us in a couple of weeks ago. We have the fantastic Laycan with us, and it's obviously spelled as LKN, if people looking first of all as well. So thank you today for agreeing to coming on, my friend. So, obviously, there's a lot of ground I want to cover with you today. But take us back in time then. Where did your love of poetry first come from?
Before I answer that question, magandang gabi. Beautiful evening to everyone from the Philippines.
Yeah,
And
oh,
I'm
sorry.
Lakan.
I should have said that, shouldn't I? Sorry, mate.
It's so good, man. With all the time zones working with or maybe sometimes against us, I understand that completely. But
Yeah.
going back to your question, where did my friend? Oh gosh, I have to go back to my mother. My mother is a writer, novelist, and also a professor of languages and
Oh,
mathematics.
oh,
It's the left
that's,
and right brain right there.
oh, wow. Yeah. No, getting
Yeah.
complete. You do. I believe, in some cases, two trains of thought with creativity. One, yours is an example three actually, where one is either your family have an influence on your creativity, because my family are not writers, but they're big readers, and that I think has impacted me. But also something that goes wrong in your life is the trigger as well. And your case is you're both of them, which we will come into shortly, I think, really. So, and for which, before we start
Yeah.
today as well, I do need to give a warning. I should have mentioned the first thing. We are going to touch on adult content today, which is not suitable for everybody. So please bear discretion in mind. But do you agree with that in that one there? They can. It's like your case would be like your mother, you said, Ray, was a massive influence on your creativity. But then, like, it's what's happened on top of it has caused it really as well, hasn't it?
Yeah. But I think just to connect with my mother, I actually hated poetry.
Oh, did you? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
because it was like so much work. Like in school, I have to contend with the reputation of my mother, and I just didn't like languages, and I loved history. I love economics, but hated like literature and languages in school. It was just like, what? Like it's so at that time I was like, it's so boring. But I would secretly like, read a lot in the library. And then one of my friends would be coming over. I'll be like, oh no, I'm actually reading about, you know, um Maslow's, and they're like, what? So
Oh, yeah.
and then I think what really started me appreciating poetry is when I was in, I think it was like a third year high school, um, when when it was a requirement for us to memorize and present, uh, perform in front of the class Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare, and I did it, and I was in theater since I was five,
Brilliant.
so I was like, oh, we can do this, So I did, and it's so interesting up to now, like I still it's in my head still, and 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 I said, you know what, like I in my head I was like, what what if Shakespeare's still alive? Like, would he be writing like this? Like, would we like what he is writing? Are we going to supporting this guy? And then those questions turned into writings, and up until a few years like after, and that's when I started really writing for me, like because I want to, not because I need to, not to pass a grade, but because I am in love. Yes, the cat. You can hear the cat. Hi, cat. Um, love those at intermission right there.
Oh, I've had it before now when we've had guests come on and they're sat by the laptop and the cat just wanders all around the laptop and you see his tail swishing around. It's all they're the biggest
Right?
performers going, aren't they? So,
True, true, true.
oh,
But yeah, I think it's it's a process that is unique to each and every person, and it's just like for me, the love um came really late for me, like 8 years ago. So,
yeah.
um, and yeah,
No, I understand it. It comes. My case had been I started when I was 10, really, with my writing, but it took me into my 30s to start taking it serious. And my wife was even later a natural one, so it's there's no set pattern. I think of anybody like that straight away with it. So no interesting. Now, before we go on to obviously your stage of published work, and there's a few bits and pieces I want to talk about it specifically. I noticed that you've performed as a busker, first of all, haven't you? In Milan, is it Melania, Singapore, and Kuala Lumpur? I want to learn about this first of all. Did the busking come before your poetry, or was that during and after?
it was uh, I bust in Manila uh, around 2 months after I entered the scene. And it
Oh,
was the worst possible introduction to busking because I was busking with like it's just my voice, no mic,
oh,
in
wow,
front,
wow,
no mic, man. I was a full
wow.
voice, and I was there in the middle of the flower market, the central flower market of the Philippines. I had to contend with like salespeople. I had to contend with vehicles, trucks, and passersby. It was very challenging, and then when I finally got to Hong Kong a year after, I was invited to perform for the Hong Kong New Music Festival. I said, hey, you know what? I'm here. Why don't I do it? Um, and when people ask me, like, why do you perform on the streets? My answer is simple. I need money. I'm not doing. Yeah, sure, I'm doing it for the craft, but I need money. I'm just being honest because like busking is about making you sustainable while you're sharing your craft. So when I always tell people, there's no glory in busking, people. It's hard work, because I would busk for 3 hours straight in the dead in the heat of the sun in Manila and Singapore and Kuala Lumpur and Hong Kong, like, and it's not comfortable. But for me to get to the next gig, I need to busk so I could pay for my fare going to the next gig.
Yeah, no, you do.
So
No, I understand you completely with it. It's almost like you're fighting for your life, really, with that, and it's. Oh, good grief. Yeah, that's got me. What you've gone through there is, I know people that busk for a living in England itself, and they struggle. They really can struggle. What
yeah,
you're done is, this phase you've gone through, I've seen pictures of it. It's completely different to what you get in England. So I can, yeah, respect,
yeah.
respect it.
Like if your metal is not sure about yourself, it's so easy to crumble because if people just pass you by and you're like, am I not good enough? Like those questions are like you know going over your head, and like are do people care about me? Do people care about poetry, about art? You know, and and then you begin to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Who is this for? And some people do it for clout, sure. I mean, if it works for you, go for it. But for the cat just jumped. I love. Oh
Oh,
wait. Can I introduce you?
oh,
Sorry.
please do, because the cat's not going to let you get away with this podcast. Like has been
Right.
introduced. Oh,
Hi.
wow. Oh,
This
wow.
this is Silver. Hi, Silver.
Oh, he's massive. Oh, how old is he?
Oh gosh. Oh wait. Okay, wait. Oh, okay. The claw
Oh!
on my collar. I was like, you love me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feed me, Dad. Feed me, Dad.
Down, down. Like
Oh my
uh,
God.
he Silver's like 2.5 years old.
Oh, he's still a puppy then, basically. Oh, not puppy. Kitten. Oh,
Well, it's a big kitten.
oh yeah, he's massive. He's absolutely massive. My sister's, and I've
Yeah.
gone off way off topic here. My sister's got a dot cat that's
Right.
half ragdoll and half Bengal, and they got him as a kitten, and they didn't realize how big he was going to be. And he's as big as some of the dogs in the area. He's just absolutely, he's just massive and dead long. Oh,
Like animals. I mean, if you want to connect it to poetry, like
yeah,
animals have always been an inspiration, for us,
yeah.
and a constant companion,
Oh yeah.
and but you know what, cats, they are masters and mistresses of judgment.
Oh yes.
So you
Oh
have that
yes.
critic right there, So the cat would be like, I don't like your poem today.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Did you? I've got to ask you after because people wondering. I do send set rough scripts and spoken label the questions, but when I was talking about cats, I'm going way off topic here. But we will come back to poetry in a minute. I promise everybody. But I'm interested in learning, obviously, because my sister's cat's like this, Smokey. Every time my sister goes abroad for 2 weeks with her husband and their family, the cat gets put into a cat sanctuary. And he doesn't speak to them for 2 or 3 days after when they come back because he sulks. Now,
Yep.
obviously, in your case, I know you've done poetry all over the various countries. Does your
Yeah.
cat sulk when you go away?
Oh, big time, big time. It's not just like they don't mind you. They can do tantrums.
Oh, yeah.
Like they would like mess your bed. They would throw their food, or they would meow at like 3 a.m. so loud. You're like, what's wrong with you? Like, can you like, don't you love me? I want to sleep. Um,
Yeah.
and but then you look at them and they would give you these eyes, and you're like, okay, fine, I forgive you. They're cute.
Oh. Oh, yeah, completely. Now, it's
Yeah.
kind of links on what I'm going to ask you next is actually, because if people
Yeah.
research your bio, they would have seen you've performed in quite a few countries by now. And I'm not going to ask you to list them all, because I think we could be, there's probably ones I don't know about. But what I am interested in learning, obviously, like I know you've performed in numerous countries since you started your poetry journey. Have you found much differences in country to country with work? Like, does some work go down better than others in other countries and etc.?
Absolutely. I mean, every culture, every city. It's not even just the country, it's the city. It's different. The how they take it, how they understand the point of view that I'm presenting, or even the tone that I use. And I think as a Filipino, we are the BPO capital of the world, business processing outsourcing. Hello, everyone who is in the BPO industry. Much courage to you guys. Um, and we can easily copy accents. Um, so I could easily glide through that. Um, but when they hear the message, um, like for example, in Singapore, the culture is very different from the Philippines. The Philippine mindset is very, I suppose, a very good mix of East and West. That we get the nuances, of like American or even British, um, like hobbits. I mean, sorry, hobbies or like little quirks, and when I would throw certain words, they'll be like, "What's that?" Or I would talk about how I love fried chicken, and they'll be like, and I was like, "Oh, right, read the room, Lakan. read the room, but I think there's so much to learn also about um, respecting the culture that where you're in, where you're performing at, and choosing the pieces that represents you at the same time that the people can learn from or can grow from. And like there was one performance I did for Tokyo, and I surprised them that I asked my cousin who has lived in Tokyo for 30, 40 years, um, and translate my poem. And I performed in Japanese the entire
Wow.
way. And I saw the production people crying. I was like, why are you guys crying? And like it felt weird because I knew that it was like something was good, because I was paying homage to their culture. But to cry was like, wow, and one of the one of the head producers came to me and said, "You made my dream come true." I was like, "What do you mean?" And he said, "I have always dreamed of a foreigner to come to Tokyo and perform in Japanese and really, really put effort in enunciating the words how we would speak it." Because I did try. I did practice so many times.
Wow.
And yeah, that was very memorable for me, the one in Tokyo. Yeah, so many memories, but I think there's really much difference, but also, I did this. Gosh, I did this 4th of July event. It was a Washington D.C.
Oh yeah.
platform, and there I was talking about American imperialism in the Philippines on their 4th of July in
Whoop.
the in
Whoops.
and I said it right after my piece. I said, if you want to talk about liberty, if you want to talk about independence, let's talk about the colonialism that you still do not want to admit.
Oof.
Ooh,
Wow.
and people are like, why did we invite this guy?
Whoops.
Sorry, you know.
Yeah.
But
Ve-
but as,
Yeah.
as poets, we
Wow.
are truth bringers. We carry truth, and sometimes, a lot of times, truth is not pleasant,
Yeah.
but it is still beautiful.
Oh, yeah,
So
completely. No, I agree with you
yeah,
completely. You've got to be honest as a creative person. If you're not honest, you've been dishonest to yourself. And I think that's the most important thing
exactly.
there. Now, a couple of things obviously in your stagecraft, and there's a couple of things, but I want to learn more about it. And it's first of all, I know obviously you were the first poet that performed a poem on the Wishes of Filipino Radio 107.5 bus live in 2019. Now, this sounds a fascinating story. So, it's like you go around. I've seen musicians on buses before now to go in the street. We've never heard a poet do it before now. So I'm fascinated at this. So what happened here?
I was selected from. I was with a musician, and it was our stat was music and poetry combined in one song, one piece. And we were selected tens of thousands of entries by the Philippines' largest music organization. Hello, Philscap, hashtag. Um, and they got us to perform for Wish 107.5. And and when I learned that I was the first poet, I was like, wow, because it's a music focused platform, radio, and like they have millions of viewers, from all over the world. And I was like, wow, this it's such a it's a type of gravity that it was so immense that I was crumbling in front of it. Then before I stepped into the bus, I said, wait, you have to step that aside. you have to leave it behind, because you got here for a reason. And now wave that flag of poetry in Wish. And I did it. And the host was like, this is insane, because we've never had a poet. And and I said that poetry and music have always been, you know, best friends, and when people heard, like, oh, so it's possible, and then a lot of like poets have performed in Wishbus after me, and it's an honor to be the precedent that set a lot of opportunities for a lot of poets in the Philippines to get on stage.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, of course.
and I I'm kind of notorious for that. Of like going into platforms that are not necessarily for poetry. I would perform I'm the only poet in a roster of like of stand-up comedian. And people are like, "What are you doing there, Lagan?" And I'm like, "Hey, like I want to share," you know.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
And
Of course.
yeah. So and also like the one in Singapore, La Salle College of the Arts had this event for theater. And then I came on stage and I'm a poet. And they were like,
Oh, brilliant.
what? So, but it was fun. It was so much fun,
Oh,
just waving our flag there. So
I get it completely. It's a dear friend of mine and my wife's called Randy. And hi, Randy, if you're hearing this. He's described me and Amanda as, and this applies to you as well, I believe. It's like you get some writers that will just follow the conventional medium, leaving to where the creativity takes them. Randy's always said this about me and Amanda. We form our own roads, and this applies to you definitely. So you do it your way, and it's your direction. You don't let yourself get stopped by other people saying you will perform right when you're going to go left just because you
right.
can't. Yeah, no, perfect. I agree. Now,
Yeah, and the surprise is always like amazing. You get
oh yeah,
surprised too. Like I could do that. Like what? Wait, what? And
yeah,
so it's beautiful when you get surprised because you'd never know how many lives that you will touch, you will affect. So yeah, and it's just a wonderful feeling that to have that courage. It's not easy. It's not easy. But when you love what you do, you go.
yeah. You
You
go,
go.
and there's no stopping you. Yeah, I completely get it
Exactly.
out of that. Now.
Exactly.
Of that said, for I do know you've actually done some projects in England, and the
Right.
one that really caught my eye, particularly, was your poems that were featured at the Weiner Holocaust Library in London for Poetics of Migration this year. Actually, I want to learn about this because this is a fascinating thing. So I've heard of this exhibition. So tell us about it and what led your pieces to being here.
I've always wanted to write about overseas Filipino workers, and there are 12 million Filipinos outside the country
It's wow!
working.
I didn't know that. Wow!
It's huge. It's like 10% of our
Yeah.
entire country,
Good grief.
and like for me, I wanted to pay the privilege that they have given so many people to live their dreams, to continue on dreaming, and not a lot of them gets even a thank you, and when this Poetics of Migration came to me, I actually applied. I wrote my poem, submitted it to them, and it was accepted for publication. And then when they offered it to be featured for the Holocaust Memorial Library in Russell Square, and I was so overjoyed. I was supposed to go in person and perform it there, but health got in the way of things, and I couldn't. But I someone that I know performed it there. And it was the angle is very different because we're talking about migration, and we're talking about migration. Usually, we talk about refugees, or we're talking about uh, people who have been part of prejudice or discrimination. But the migration that I was bringing forward was it was a migration of poverty. It was a migration. We would go out so we could earn and bring back that money back home in the Philippines so the people here, their families, would get a better chance in life. And like, for example, if I'm not mistaken, 26% of nurses in the NHS in the UK are Filipinos. And like wow, one poet actually, Romalyn Ante, from the UK. She's Filipina, and I think she got her citizenship. I think also in the UK. She's wonderful. Do check her out. Also, wonderful, wonderful work. She's very vocal about the life of overseas Filipino workers and people who are migrated in the UK. And also, yeah, do check her out. I know she has a new book, actually, Agimat. Please do check it out. Love supporting other people also. So,
Yeah, do me
yeah,
a
shout out.
favor. Do me a favor when the write-up this later. Can you send me over more details here, and also I can make sure I give a proper shout out here
Sure.
as well for brilliant.
Yeah. So that's what happened. It was featured. It was read. It was showcased in the event, and I was just so happy that the voice that had been usually been kept silent. It's out, and people can understand the sacrifice, the suffering of these 12 million Filipinos. So yeah.
Brilliant. No, no, agreed. Completely great stuff indeed there. Now, on a slightly different note, and this is something where it's not easy to get onto this, but yeah, I know you've been nominated twice for the Pushcart Prize, haven't you? In 2023 and this year. So tell people obviously how this happened then.
The first one, I did not. I mean, every single nomination that I have received, or the wins that I've had, um, I never expected them. I just want to write and perform, and one time, one of the works that I submitted for, it was a publication from Germany, based in Berlin. It's ah gosh, why am I forgetting the name of the magazine?
It always
Um,
happens. It always happens to me that people put you on the
right?
spot with something. You always forget it. I know I do.
The Wild Word, in Berlin, and they published it. And at the end of the year, they messaged me and they said, we would love to have your poem be nominated for the Pushcart. I was "Uh, like, are you sure?"
Yeah.
There was like some doubt, like it's me, like really? Oh, cool, and that poem I made as an homage to one of the tribes here in the Philippines that made the rice terraces. And yeah, it was nominated in the Pushcart in 2023. The other Pushcart nomination. So what I do, like when I count nominations, technically I had five nominations for this year for 2024, but I just
Fantastic.
count it as one. I just count it
Yeah.
as one.
Yeah. Respect.
Um, and it was from my debut collection. So it was submitted by the publisher, and I'm just so proud that these echoes of who I am are being nominated. Um, so and it's not about for me. It's never about winning. It'll be great, if I win, but
As I say, a
um,
bonus, right?
it's a bonus. It's a bonus, But the fact that it's out, that I had the courage to write them and share them, is already the win,
Of course, of
So
course.
yeah,
No, of course. Get it completely right. He's dead right of it. It's just for me, it's just the fact is he's great. His stuff's out there, and anything like that is a bad bonus. No, agreed completely. Now, I'm conscious of the time here already, would you believe? We've
right.
done just over half an hour already. And we're
What?
not even, yeah, I know. And we're not even got halfway through the questions yet. So I'm going to ask you, which I knew had happened today. There's people, you call it instinct, a spoken label. Now, there's two things I want. Oh, do one more here. Then we'll take a quick break, everybody, because I want to spend some time on your debut collection, which I think will take us a bit more work anyway. But I think a good one to wrap up part one with today is I know you co-founded the Poetry Global Network Limited, a UK chartered poetry company that includes the Poetry Academy
Right.
and PGN Publishing. Now, I think this is a good one to wrap up part one with. Tell us a story about this then.
This was 2021, and this was at in the middle of the pandemic, and we were actively performing on Zoom, and then we I found kindred spirits in the scene, and I asked each and every one of them, would you want to build a poetry corporation with me? And they were like, huh? Like, what do you mean poetry corporation? And then
Wow.
I said, I want to build a company that is founded and by poets and are poet forward, and I always tell people that, publishers, please don't hate me, you know, but for the longest time, literature has been held by people who are not writing.
That's very
That I
subtly
and
put,
I
that.
you know
Brilliant.
and oh, and then I said, like, maybe it's time to get some of our powers back, and because we know how it feels like. We know the suffering that we have to go through to even create one poem. Like, what do you think? We just like breathe in, breathe out, and then poem comes out? No, it doesn't go that way. So we created this company called Poetry Global Network Limited, and we opened it in the UK, and we had members from Mexico to of course the UK, US, Canada. We even had like South Africa, like Nigeria, Japan, like it was really all over. And then we branched into, because I said, poetry is not just about writing and expression. Poetry is also the act of forging. You have to better your craft, learn, grow, and not just, like, this is what it is, and you just let it out. There's discipline and hard work in the craft. So we created the Poetry Academy, where we do workshops, master classes, and I think starting this year, we are going to be releasing short courses that will be running in like terms, for an entire term. So do catch for that, and then we also branch into publishing, and we are a member of CLMP, Community of Literary Magazines and Publishers, which is the world's largest organization of independent publishers since the 1970s. And we're part of that organization. And there's so many voices that we need to hear, and the fact is, um, the, at least for poetry and literature in general, it's held by, I would call it the Golden Square. Um, the Golden Square, which is the UK, Canada, the United States, and Australia, and in every country outside of that, were peripheries, and but there's so many brilliant writing outside that, so many brilliant poets, and they don't get the chance to get the work out, and we would love to bridge that gap. And I would love to believe that for the past 4 years, we have done just that. So, yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Last question I want to ask you about this is obviously, and then we're going to take a quick break, is obviously with this been going for a couple of years now, has it changed much your focus on this project over time, do you think?
Which one? Sorry.
On
PGL?
the project, yeah, Poetry Global. I presume you're still involved with it. Like,
Yeah.
but has the project changed in directions you didn't expect over the last couple of years?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Back in 2023, I will not mention the name um of the festival. Um, but we fought we did not expect that we'll be fighting for the right of poets to express um against um against an arts council, and we stood our ground, and we didn't expect that. We just thought that, hey, we're just going to, bridge the gaps. Like, I didn't know that we're going to be right there in the forefront of, like, saying to to a certain establishment, no. It was just like no, period. And people tell me like Lahan, like that's isn't that a bit much? Like it's a bit like forward. And I said, and I always say, isn't that the direction we should go? Forward?
Yeah,
And they'll be like,
perfect.
oh, right.
Perfect. No, I agree with you completely. You do. You've got to be, as a poet, you've got to be pushing boundaries all the time. And as a writer, in any sort of creativity, if you don't, you stand still. And I think that's the worst thing you can do there. So that's why I'm glad today we've had you on only on part one, please note everybody. We've got another one, two, three, four, another seven things I want to talk about here to my friend in a minute. So what we're gonna do, like I knew it had happened today, this but it's great. I generally don't mind, and I'm delighted it has. We're gonna take a quick break, everybody. We will see you back in two shakes of the dice with part two. See you in a minute.